I don't think I ever talked with NASCAR Hall of Famer Bobby Allison one-on-one. The 1983 NASCAR champion finished second in the series 5 times and was a 3-time winner of the Daytona 500. My favorite Allison memory goes back to 1975 and the International Race of Champions at Riverside International Raceway. That was when the series switched from Porsche Carreras to Chevrolet Camaros. But one of those Camaros rolled out painted green, and the NASCAR drivers were superstitious of the color green and refused to drive or even be on the same track with the green car. So IROC officials acquiesced and painted the green car black, and it was Bobby Allison who drove that car to win all 4 races and become the champion. Fast forward several decades, and Bobby Allison is in the Freak Nation talking with us about the fight Bobby and his brother Donnie had with Cale Yarborough at the end of the 1979 Daytona 500. Allison delivered one of the great lines from 25 Freaky Years that night. He said, "I don't understand it." He kept taking his face and hitting my fist with it. Bobby Allison died Saturday at home with his family. He was 86. Piece of motor racing history gone, and the sport is lesser because of it. Peace.
Bobby Allison and his tenure of the business touched a lot of drivers, a lot of team owners, and it was evident at the track when we saw it, the announcement on Saturday at Phoenix Raceway. We're going to hear from Dale Earnhardt Jr. in moments. We've got the Dale Earnhardt Jr. interview coming up next hour, but we're going to hear from Dale Earnhardt Jr. share something about Bobby Allison that, again, kind of caught a lot of us off guard in the media center when he was asked about Bobby Allison and what he meant to Dale Earnhardt and Dale Earnhardt Jr. Dale Earnhardt Jr.
Let me throw something else in there quickly that I did mention the Alabama gang. That was an important brand, just like the Wood brothers in NASCAR racing. It was Bobby and Donnie Allison and Red Farmer. Donnie and Red Farmer had a shop in Hueytown, Alabama, and that started the ball rolling. And all of these guys had success in NASCAR racing, called them the Alabama gang.
Great point. Dale Earnhardt Jr. talking about what Bobby Allison meant to the sport. Great, doesn't it?
He is, he's a champion and left his mark on this sport, and we should celebrate him and remember the incredible moments that you might have, whether it was a race you watched or an opportunity to actually get to be with him and talk with him. I was kind of indirectly linked to Bobby working with the Allison brothers when they were building Legends cars. That was my first job. I got a speeding ticket, and Dad told me to go get a job. So I got to know Donnie and all of the guys, and then they made me like the honorary member of the Alabama gang at one point, which was really nice, but because it was a really tight group there. And getting to know Red Farmer. And I just, through all of that, I got to know Bobby better. And just an incredible career. So cool of NASCAR to acknowledge his win at Bowman Gray just weeks ago. And, he'll be missed. But I remember when he was injured and how deeply that affected my dad. They were very close. I think that Bobby and Dad had a relationship there when Dad was young, and in 79, 80, 81, through that period, Bobby was very helpful. Dad would say that Bobby and Donnie were the ones that would actually talk to him and answer his questions and stuff, and so they were pretty close. And I remember being young when all that was going on, and how thankful we were that he was able to survive that. And and I'll say this too. I was at Dover. I think it was my first year as a broadcaster, so 2018, and I got in a I got in an elevator or something to go up to the booth, and Bobby walked in or came into the elevator, and I thought, man, of all the places he could be at his age, and he wants to be at Dover for a cup race. Of all the places this man could be right now, and he's here. What a dedication, right, to the sport. He gave more than anybody that I can imagine to this sport, and he continued to give and continued to be a part of it.
Bananas, especially when you think of Bobby Allison. I didn't even think about it, but Crasher, I saw that it was brought up on X or Instagram about his involvement with IndyCar.
Mm-hmm. Indy 500.
Yeah.
Yep. He is an Indy 500 starter. So yeah, just he was one of those mindsets that wanted to try everything, and just whether it was his mechanical side that had him go on over into IndyCar for a little bit, who knows? But it's just, yeah, it's nice. I just wish we saw more of that these days, to the crossover effect and seeing people get happy in other forms besides the one that they command in their discipline.
You know, it should be noted as well that fight between Donnie Allison and Carol Yarborough that Bobby stopped and got involved with, the backstretch of the 79 Daytona 500, was watched by one of the record audiences in NASCAR history because of a 79 blizzard that kept everybody inside watching TV. And people turned around and said, "Is this what happens at NASCAR races?" And suddenly NASCAR became, let's see if it happens again. So, yeah, I mean, that was one of the most important things to happen at a NASCAR race at the time, and helped make NASCAR what it is today. It was, you can't appreciate what that did for the NASCAR audience. And Bobby Allison was there in the middle of it with Dale Yarborough hitting his fist over and over again.
Stan, could you explain to those that really are not familiar, maybe a little bit more in depth? I don't want to put you on the spot, but the Alabama gang, how their influence was on NASCAR at the time and really helped put them on the map.
Well, they were Red Farmer and Donnie Allison were bumping around. Again, NASCAR was not what it is now, and it was regional. And it wasn't until that region began to spread, that attitude began to spread around the country, that NASCAR spread with it, because that was what you did if you were a Southerner. And as Bobby grew to be with his brother Donnie and other people that were in the Alabama area, they had a garage, a speed shop, and they began to take over NASCAR racing from Hueytown, Alabama, and they became known as the Alabama Gang. And they won races and competed. And Donnie didn't have the success that Bobby had, but yeah, they became important, and that brand became as important as the Wood Brothers or anything else that wasn't. Very few people were factory supported in those days, like Hendrick and Penske are now. But it wasn't until 79 that NASCAR really said, "Are you kidding me? Did you see that?" And,
yeah. And actually, in all of this talk with
about 30 seconds
with Roger Penske and his domination as of late in NASCAR, but his overall resume, it's fitting to kind of put a bow on all of this. Bobby Allison's starts in the Indy 500 were with Roger Penske, following his brother Donnie Allison's success in the 500. So there you go. Kind of neat how it all ties together.
Dang. We met Bobby Allison at Phoenix Raceway about 8 years ago. And again, that smile and his laugh, you'll never forget it. Freak Nation, we're going to hear Dale Earnhardt Jr. will be here in the Freak Nation. Joey Logano, and Martin Truex. A big second hour coming up. Speed Freaks Pits and